Hi everyone, and welcome to Sports Watch. If you like the content, please press the bell icon for further notifications and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Tony Ferguson just lost his eighth fight in a row versus Michael Chiesa. Yes, you heard that right. At 40 years old, he isn't getting any better and he hasn't won a round in almost 2 years. At one point of time, Tony was unbeatable, and now he can't seem to catch a break. It's hard to see one of the greatest competitors in the octagon look lost in the ring. When Daniel Cormier asked him if it was his final time in the octagon, Tony looked dazed. He had a blank look in his eyes. It was as if he saw his entire career flashing before him. The Abu Dhabi crowd also gave him the standing ovation that he deserves. Tony Ferguson doesn't want to retire, and he doesn't want to be anywhere else than the UFC. He threw one glove away as if it was the end indeed, or he might consider his decision after speaking to his family one last time. Ferguson has given his heart and soul to the company, and it's time that he should hang up his boots. His best days are way past him. Now he's a shadow of his former self. Lesser fighters are now making a name of him. He has slowed down drastically. His reflexes are no longer the same. He was never a technical fighter, but with age, those deficiencies are showing all the more. And he's getting finished in fights which never used to happen in his prime. The last time Tony won a fight was in 2019 against Donald Cowboy Cerrone. That was 5 years ago. He was known as the boogeyman, and most of his fights were gory and violent. When you live by the sword, you die by it. His fight with Justin Gaethje was an absolute beatdown, and it took a lot out of him. He sustained a lot of damage in that fight and hasn't been the same fighter since. In all his fights since then, he has looked withered. His facial features have changed since that fight. It seems as if he has aged far more quickly in the last couple of years. He didn't have coaches. Sometimes he had students in his corner. He even had David Goggins in his corner for one of his fights. He himself admitted that he hadn't sparred in 7 years, and the sport had simply moved ahead. His opponents had done their homework on him. Tony didn't have any answers. He got beaten worse every fight. He got fed to the wolves as well. It was one top competitor after the other. And it was a disastrous move to go off to welterweight to fight Michael Chiesa. He was being overpowered at lightweight. At welterweight was going to get worse. Chiesa absolutely ragdolled him, picked him up, dropped him, took his back and submitted him. And there was no resistance from Tony. At this point of time, someone needs to have a word with him and ask him to stop. He is too tough for his own good. Dana White has said it's the last fight for Tony. It's obvious how invaluable he has been to the company. But even then, someone has to advise him take a step back sometimes for his own health. His 12-fight win streak was one of the most impressive ones in the UFC in the toughest divisions. Not for his opponents though. They used to get cut and bleed all over the face when they fought El Cucuy. Perhaps the greatest regret of Tony's career was not getting to fight Khabib. The pair was scheduled to fight 5 times, but it fell apart every time due to some reason or the other. In his prime, it would have been a good matchup. But nevertheless, it was a good career. He is destined to be in the UFC Hall of Fame. He was the most avoided fighter in the UFC in his prime, and it's a shame that he never fought for the belt despite his 12 fight win streak. That is one of the biggest blunders in the company. Tony Ferguson won the Ultimate Fighter. He won the interim lightweight title, but somehow the lightweight title eluded him. It's a regret that he has to live with. It was great seeing Tony in the octagon. He's one of the OGs for sure. His press conferences were intense and unique, and the fans always connected with him. The hardcore MMA fans will always relate with Tony Ferguson. His great fights were those with Edson Barbosa, with Kevin Lee, with Lando Venata, with Pettis. They were all part of UFC folklore. It's time for Tony to hang off his boots and ride up to the sunset and spend time with his family. He has deserved to say goodbye on his own terms, and there is no shame in it. Every good thing has to come to an end eventually. No one can go on fighting forever. He has accomplished a lot in the sport. There is no use to tarnish his legacy by taking on fights against game opponents at this point of time in his career. Let me know in the comment section what you feel. And if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.